Hi everyone, welcome to Watercolor Wednesday. I am Bonnie Krebs, creator of Watercolor the Art Impressions Way, and this week's project is a wreath. I did a wreath project a few weeks back and I had a lot of positive feedback on it. I asked you if you would like to see more projects like that, and a lot of you responded that you would. So I'm going to take another week and do another wreath project. This one's really fun, and I picked this this idea because I want to show you that you can mix it up a little bit and you can add maybe the unexpected to some of these wreaths. They're so fun, and there's so many different ways that you can put them together really for every season. So I added into this wreath some little birdhouses. This is actually from the little bird bath set. So we're going to use these two little birdhouses here and a couple of these birds. You can use them all if you want to. I just chose a couple just to make it simpler. In the branch set, this is something that, this is a set I'm going to be using a lot of. I love this set. It's really, really versatile, and especially for these wreaths, these little branches just work great. So we're going to use this one right here. In the fall set, we're going to use this one, these little berries, and the ones that kind of go to the left. So this one right here. A sentiment. So I chose the Friendship Blooms from the Heart. Love that. So we're going to use that one. And then in the foliage and the flower set, we just need a couple of things. So we're going to use the vine, this one, and then we're going to use the little daisy bunch for the filler flowers. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to put this wreath together, and the easiest way to do it is, I think, is to create your circle so that you have a guideline, and then divide it up into fourths. It's not so overwhelming to do it like this, and you kind of just follow the same pattern as you go. And it doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to match perfectly. You don't have to do the exact same thing in every panel, but it does kind of help you balance your wreath. Okay, so I'm going to start out by inking the little birdhouses. So I'm going to just do 2 and 2. So I'm going to use the sepia, and I'm just going to stamp them kind of right in the middle of the circle. So we'll put one here. Don't worry about stamping over the top of the pencil. That's perfectly fine to do that. And let's put another one here. And then we're going to ink the other one in the sepia as well. And just kind of put it over here. So we've got our little birdhouses in. We're going to add color to those later. So for right now, we're going to get all of the elements in before we do that, add water to it. So we're going to go on now to the branch. This is the little branch. And I'm inking this also in the sepia. And I'm just going to kind of turn my paper so that it's easier to stamp. And I'm just going to kind of repeat this all the way around. And like I said, don't worry if it's not perfect. If you don't have everything exactly the same, there's no problem with that. Okay, so we've got our branches in here. So now let's go ahead and add the flowers. And that's the little daisy bunch. So this one right here. And I'm just going to use a couple of these. I don't need this huge group of daisies. I'm just going to use the 2 on the right-hand side. And I'm using the number 86 African Violet. So I'm just going to kind of put in some flowers, kind of random, and maybe 3 little groups, and then I'll go ahead and turn my watercolor paper and do the same again. Just kind of ink this up. Remember, you're walking it in a circle. You're walking it in a circle, so you want to make sure that you stamp that a bunch of times. Fill in this little area here. Okay, kind of working our way around. Super easy to do. You really can't mess these wreaths up at all. And if you get to the end and you feel like you've got a little lopsided area, you can always add a few more in to kind of balance it out. That's not going to be a problem. Okay, so let's keep moving on. We're going to add the foliage now. So I've got my little vine, and I'm just going to ink half of it. And just put a little foliage in just like this. So just kind of 3. So 1, 2, 3, just like that. And just keep spinning your paper and re-inking. I'll add another one right here. And see if that looks pretty balanced. It does. And I'll just go around and do that on all of them. Okay, that looks pretty good. So we are back to the top of the circle again. So let's go ahead now and add water to this. So I'm just going to dip my brush and pinch it off. And start with the flowers. That's the darkest part. So I'm going to start with this daisy bunch and just dab. Pinch your brush, dip your brush and pinch it off. And then just dab. So you're going to get a little of this sepia in there from the branches. That's okay. That's going to add a lot to your overall image. It's going to add a lot of depth to it. So just kind of work your way around. This is when everything kind of comes to life. I love this part. It's just what makes it look like a watercolor painting. And it's actually fine. It looks fine when you stamp it, I think. It's still kind of cute, but when you add the water to it, it just changes everything. That's when it really starts to look like a little painting. And I love that you can't tell that it stamps. It looks like you painted it. That's the best part. Okay, so now I'm going to go on to the vines and just dab. Just kind of dab. No brush strokes. Just kind of dab and it's okay to get the sepia kind of mixed in a little bit, not too much. That's why we stamp the branches first and then the foliage over the top so we can kind of blend those colors a little bit. And just work your way around. It's not scary at all when you kind of break it down like this. And that's the whole point, you know, that it's fun. That it's fun and easy to do and quick. And it looks amazing when you're done. Okay, so we've got this part done. So let's go on to the little birdhouses. And we're just gonna kind of pull the color out of the lines. Remember, even on these little structures, you don't want to cross those lines. You want to kind of stay in your little sections here. And I've got some color on my brush still from when I was pulling the color out of the lines. That's okay. Kind of adds a lot of extra color. I love that. So don't worry about that. And I'm going to just pull this color out on this side of the little birdhouse. I'm leaving these birdhouses white. So we want to show shadow. Even though they're white, they're not uncolored. So we want to see that little shadow under the little perch, under the roofs. So cute. And let's take the fine tip now. This is the African Violet, so the number 86, and really darken these little openings. That's going to really pop these little birdhouses out. You can see that really adds a lot to the whole image. Okay, this looks pretty good. Let's move on to the next step, and that would be to add the little birds in here. And you can add as many as you want to. I put 4 in my sample, but you can add 6 or 8 of them if you want to. They're so cute. So I've got two little ones here, and I'm going to use my positioner because I want to make sure I get them in the right place. So let's start with this little guy. We're going to ink him in sepia. And just stamp it in the corner, so just like that. And I think I will put 1 in each section. So I'm going to re-ink him again. And you don't have to press hard on these. Don't press too hard because you don't want those lines to be too dark. And let's put another one maybe up here. And let's go on to the next one. So we're going to use that same positioner. Just turn it. And this is a good spot right here for this little guy. And let's put another one in. About right here. These little wreaths make such a fast and easy card. This is just the easiest way to do a card. I'm going to add one more up in here. And there's lots of little birds in this set, so you can mix it up and use all kinds of them. Okay, so now I'm going to pull that color out of the lines. Very carefully, stay inside, stay inside the lines. Don't cross those lines, even though these little birds are so tiny. And if you get too much color on your brush, just clean it off and come back to your image. Try to keep the faces light, even with these little guys. It's really important to do that. I'm going to take my fine tip now and really darken these little eyes, even though they're tiny. You want to see their little faces. Okay, that looks good. Let's add some more color to them. And we can do that from the palette. So let's color the little chests. This is number 89, Persimmon. So I'm just going to take a little of this color and just brush it on. Just like that. You can make these birds whatever color you want to make them. Okay, we've got that finished. We've got our little birds in. So let's go on to the next step. We are almost finished with this project, so we're going to go on to the next step, and that's to add the little berries in. So cute. It's easier to do the stalk first, so the stem, and then do the berries second. So I'm going to ink that with the green. This is number 72, and then I'm going to do the berries in the persimmon, and get enough red on here. Make sure you get enough red on here, and then just kind of work your way around. So go back to the green, and then the red. It just takes a little bit of time, but it's worth it because it just turns out so cute. So let's keep going around. So green. And the red. And maybe one more. Let's do another one up here. And we can do a couple of small ones too on the inside. Oops, and I did the red first after I told you to do the green first. It's just much easier to do that. Okay, that looks good. Let's go ahead and add a little water to those. If you've got a number 1 brush, this is a great time to use it. I'm using a number 4, but the tiny tip on a 1 is much easier. And this just pops the color right out. Makes it so bright. Okay, that looks good. We want to make sure that's really dry before we take these pencil lines off. So I'm going to give it a second here. Feels pretty good. These things dry really quickly. And I'm going to erase these lines now. When you draw these little sections in, you want to make sure you do it really, really lightly so that you don't see those pencil lines when you're finished. Okay, that looks good. So let's go ahead and add our sentiment, and we are about finished with this project. I'm going to use my positioner again, and I'm using sepia. You can use an ink pad to put this in, or you can use your markers. So let's put the little shield in here. And we can put that right about here. That's about in the center. That looks good. And then we'll just re-ink it. Make sure you get enough ink on here so that it stamps well. And just good, even pressure. And if you see any little areas that you missed, just take a brush and just pull that color out. You really don't have to add much water to this, just to close up any letters that may not have stamped quite right, because you are stamping on textured paper, so sometimes you might get something not stamped quite right. Okay, so look back over everything, make sure everything is blended well. If there's anything else you want to add, I always kind of go back in. This is the number 86, and just really make sure that I have all these lines really dark where the shadows would be. So under these little eaves, it's really important to do that. Okay, that looks pretty good. You can go over your sentiment a little bit if you want to just blur it up a little bit. Just use your eraser and just kind of run it over the top. Kind of adds a little texture. Just like so. Be sure to sign, even though it doesn't look like a traditional little watercolor painting, it's still your own work. So you do need to sign and date. And put that on a card, and somebody is going to love it. Thank you so much for watching, and give me a thumbs up if you like this project, and I'll see you all next week.